All right, as always, guys, quicker you answer, the more points you get. What character is thought to be autistic on the Big Bang Theory? Sheldon Cooper, Leonard Hofstadter, Penny, or Howard? Nice, so good easy one to start off with. And I'm not sure on the show they actually ever mentioned that he is autistic, but it's quite clear, to be honest, from watching it, that that's what they modelled him on. Probably a little bit of an extravagant version, but I'm sure you guys have appreciate that. Though representation in the media has come a long way, it still isn't great, you know. So just because I'm showing these things, do not mean that I endorse them in terms of how they portray autism. All right, 2 or 24. Which artist retrospectively thought to have had autism spectrum created this image? So this lovely can of soup. Was it Hendry, Pablo? Oh, both on it. Nice. Andy Warhol. Now, there's a little bit of debate whether Andy was part of our lovely community, because some people thought he had all the tendencies, all the characteristics, but then other people seem to think, well, that was kind of his image, you know? That's kind of what he wanted to portray to the world. He wanted people to think he was a bit quirky. So the jury's out on that one. All right, 3 or 24. The founder of Pokemon is often believed to have autism, Asperger's syndrome. What is their name? Now, I expect April to know this one, but I'm not even going to try and pronounce the names, but the creator of Pokemon. Oh, interesting. So the first one, Ash Ketchum, is a cartoon character. The second one, I believe he is the founder of Digimon. The other one is Yu-Gi-Oh! And last one is Pokemon. But just like
he did feels like his directive feels like Spirited Away and Howl's Moving Castle.
Oh, nice. I love those films. Look, you know, an interesting thing about Statushi is that there's contradicting reports. I did so much research on this. There's reports saying he has stated he has autism, but then there's official report, well, official, which I believe so, from Games Freak, which says he does not. So I found it very difficult to verify this one, but this is why I said believed to have, because he is quoted on a lot of websites. All right, 4 or 24. Character Sam Gardner is from what American sitcom? Greenhouse Academy, Dear White People, Atypical, or Frontier? Nice, well done both. Atypical. Have either of you watched that?
No, but I would like to, if I can watch on Netflix. It's on.
I would say it's worth a watch, but I'll be honest with you, after the first season, I didn't watch again. I think it's a little bit too dramatized. It's a better representation than we've seen previously, but it's still a little bit too extreme for my liking. All right, 5 or 25. 5 or 24. Which comic book character is not described autistic by their writers? Is it Black Manta, Johnny Doo, Dennis the Menace, or Mr. Fantastic? Nice. It is Dennis the Menace. So Black Manta is a villain, a very bad villain at that, not a great depiction of autism. Johnny Doo, yeah, he's all right. I don't know the comments that well. And Mr. Fantastic, in a fairly recent comic from the Fantastic Four, he did get described, he said, oh, I am autistic. So it's a fairly new thing, but he is. And Dennis the Menace is just a naughty child. Nothing to do with autism, I don't think. Okay, number 6. What type of athlete is diagnosed Asperger's? What type of athlete is diagnosed Asperger's? Sorry, the wording is very poor on this, but it is surfer. And this guy, he suffered his whole kind of well, I guess suffers, I'm not sure the right word, but he struggled anyway, knowing his identity. And he was very talented at surfing, and it's a very isolated sport, and he's one of the best in the world when it comes to surfing. There are also famous autistic racers, swimmers, runners. They do exist, but I didn't find any kind of mainstream household names. All right, number 7. What director has been called possibly autistic by their partner? Is it Martin Scorsese, Quentin Tarantino, Tim Burton, or David Lynch? Nice, Tim Burton. Yes, bonus points if you know who his wife is.
It was Helena Bonham Carter.
Oh, are they
I don't know
separated
who
now?
it is now. I think so.
Oh, okay. Well, you're right. It's Helen. You know, she's the one who said that
Helena.
her husband is possibly autistic. And then if you read it in context, she meant it in an endearing way. So it wasn't like, you know, we could say, oh, you're a bit autistic. It was more like the way his brain works is genius. Nice. Wow, you got 1 up on April on that. Savor that moment. Okay. 8 or 24. Henry Cavendish discovered a thought to... Oh, my grammar, guys, I must apologise. So dyslexic. But basically, what element did Henry Cavendish discover? My God, well, my dyslexia sure came through there, right? Henry Cavendish, and discovered a thought to be autistic scientist discovered what element? Well, do you know what? We're in a safe group here. So hydrogen. Yeah, he is probably, he's normally considered like one of the most important scientists of our generation. And actually, he used to live in Clapham Common, which is right by my house when I'm in London, which is nice. But sadly, they destroyed his house. If you guys ever read Neurotribes, there's a whole chapter on this guy, and he's absolutely fascinating. He was autistic before it was like a thing, but he had so many journals and descriptions, and he was very standoffish, very isolated, but he was also an absolute genius. And he never considered anyone a friend, but that people who knew him well kind of knew how his mind worked. So he was a very interesting individual. He would eat the same food, which was like mutton, like a big leg of lamb, every single day, like every day. That was his one meal, which sounds boring, but he obviously liked it. Okay. Pervasive development disorder is also known as high-functioning autism, Asperger's syndrome. Oh, okay. Atypical autism. And essentially, people use this term when they do not know what you are. So it's normally called passive development disorder, bracket, or other, bracket. It's not used that much, but it's normally for people who they can't just kind of like put their finger on it. High function autism, like I mentioned previously, doesn't really exist in terms of like official and medical diagnosis, but then again, if you resonate with something, that's up to you. And classical autism is normally considered what we used to call low functioning. And that's because that was the first recognized version of it. Asperger's came a bit later. Okay, number 10. Autism spectrum is estimated to affect about 1% of the global population. Approximately, how many is this? 600,000, 6 million, 60 million, or 160 million? Nice, well done, guys. I think the exact number is somewhere around 63.2, or like, you know, it fluctuates, but it's a decent chunk. So 1% might not sound that lot, but when you think there's 60 million of us, suddenly that sounds like a population we probably should start taking notice of and catering for. All right. There is a medical detection for autism spectrum disorder. Is this true or false? False, you're right. There's no way, people have looked in genes, DNA, you cannot tell. It has to be done through assessments. Will they ever be able to have a detection system? I don't see it being impossible, because if it is how the brain is wired, so to speak, but this doesn't mean that it's a thing which we need to find a cure for. We just need to cater society to work for us. All right, 12 or 24. It is common for comorbid conditions, that's people who have more than one, in autism spectrum. However, what condition is not common? So out of these four, 3 of them are very common if you have autism. They tend to go hand in hand. Okay, yes. Allergies, weirdly, very common with people with autism. I don't know why, but I can testify to that. I'm always sneezing. Epilepsy, very common. Digestive disorders, which I didn't actually know until I started this research. And the last one is like an ear condition, or like when you're swallowing. Nothing to do with it. All right, 13 or 24. Which musical artist is not known / thought to be autistic? So the key word here is not. Is it Susan Boyle, Courtney Love, Mozart, or Lily Allen? Yes, Lily Allen. Susan Boyle, classic, everyone knows that. Courtney Love, what is she? Was she married to Kurt Cobain? And she was also in a grunge band.
Hole.
Sorry?
H-O-L-E, Hole.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's what Courtney was in, the band.
Yes, that's it.
Yeah.
Mozart, again, is one of those things where if you look back, he appears to be, but no evidence. I mean, no official diagnosis. All right, 2007's reboot of Power Rangers depicted which ranger as autistic spectrum? Was it the red one, the blue one, the yellow one, or the green one? Oh, interesting. First one, but none of you got it right. Admittedly, I haven't watched the movie either. Apparently, it's complete trash. But I used to love the original. Yeah, it's the blue one.
I liked him Morphin, Power Rangers. Yeah, I liked watching that when I was a kid, and the Yellow Ranger was my favourite.
Oh no, I used to love, my favourite ranger was Tommy, the White Ranger, but you know, who was also the Green Ranger. But the Blue Ranger, they made him, cast him as autistic in the new adaptation. But what I like about this, from what I read about it at least, is that he is a central character in terms of the glue that holds the team together. So I can't testify, but from what I read about it, he appears to be a good depiction. All right, 15 or 24. Autism Awareness Day focuses on specific themes determined by the UN. What was this year's theme? Now, this is a tough one. Opening doors to inclusive education, the transition to adulthood, empowering women and girls with autism, assistive technology, active participation. Very well. Who got that right? Ooh, nice. So, Joe, I reckon you actually knew that one, right? Was it all?
Guess.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, I guess my answer as well, but I got it wrong.
I mean, considering like my job is working with autism every day, I didn't know that beforehand. So they're obviously not promoting it very heavily, but it is interesting that's the themes. And bonus points, do you guys know what day Awareness Day is?
2nd of April.
Yes. I can't actually give you a bonus point, but well done. Okay, 16 or 24. Austrian pediatrician Hans Asperger's called children with AS his ... little geniuses, little doctors, little computers, little professors. Interesting. So yeah, this is another thing which is heavily documented in the book Neurotribes, which I really do think it's worth a read. I only read it recently, that's why I'm mentioning it a fair bit. I'm not endorsed. But he would call them his little professors, and he's a very, very interesting character, Asperger's. He's often getting a bad rep, but up until, I think, had World War II not happened, he would have gone down in history as a very progressive, like, champion of autism. He made some really great strides in the beginning. Sadly, towards the, as the war was really kicking off, he made some questionable decisions, but the argument is he did it because he had to, or he did it for the betterment of the people he supported. He'd rather kill his little professors than let Hitler do something even worse to them. But I guess that's in the history books now, and we might never know. But I don't think he's all bad. I think there's a lot of good to take away from him. Quizzes. The concept of autism was coined in what year by the German physician Egen? You guys can read that. Was it the 17th century, the 18th, 19th? Nice. Yeah, it was 1911. Now, what is interesting about this is, when it was termed, it was kind of like associated with schizophrenia, right? So yes, they used the word autism, but it was used to describe like severe schizophrenia. So yes, it was coined then, but it's not the autism we know and love today. All right, 1824. The father of modern science, Sir Isaac Newton, was diagnosed as being autistic. True or false? Interesting. Yeah, it is false. And it is false because back when he was alive, you couldn't get diagnosed. But was he autistic? There's a lot of evidence to suggest that he was, from his social skills, to the way he interacted, to his hyper-focused. And when you go online to look for famous autistics, I'll be honest with you, I think a lot of the lists are complete false. I think if they worded it like who had characteristics, that is acceptable. But to say that someone has something when it was impossible to diagnose someone there is, not right. All right, 1924. Which company has the richest thought to be autistic founder? Is it Ford's, Microsoft, Heinz, or Apple? So similar to the last month's one, but changed up a bit. So yeah, Microsoft. Ford's dyslexic. Microsoft, Bill Gates is often seen as someone who has autism. I believe he has stated himself he resonates with a lot of the characteristics and tendencies, but isn't formally diagnosed. And the other two had dyslexia. So it's one of those things where if you look at how he is, he's always fidgeting, he doesn't make great eye contact, he's very hyper-focused in certain areas. I would say it's very likely that he is. But you always got to be careful with how you word these things. All right. Author and animal behavior expert Temple Grandin wrote what book on autism? Neurotribes, The Reason I Jump, Uniquely Human, or Thinking in Pictures? Nice. It is Thinking in Pictures. Now, Temple Grandin, last time we found out she was in Colorado, she is a real great advocate and role model of people on the spectrum, because she's not all about, hey, I'm autistic. She's about, I am an expert in animal behavior. I just so happen to have an autistic brain and how I solve problems. So she is an animal expert first and then an advocate second, which I think I kind of like, because it shows that autism is you, but it doesn't have to define you. You can use it as an advantage rather than have it be your sole focus in life. Nice. Well done, Joe. 3 in a row. The Good Doctor is a television series on what streaming platform? Hulu, Disney Plus, HBO Max, or Amazon Prime? Oh, guys, it is Hulu. Now, it is on Amazon, but you have to pay. Now, natively, it is Hulu that it is on. I don't know anyone who owns that platform, to be honest. So you can't. I'm kind of glad you both got it wrong in fairness, because it's a bit of a trick question. But yeah, the character is autistic. Okay, we're almost there, guys. The title character in Amelie displays tendencies of Asperger's. What country was the film made in? Was it UK? Oh, both of you on it. Have you both seen the film?
Yes.
I love it. I love
Good
it, love
one.
it, love it. It's like my favorite French film of all time. And I used to be the president of the French Cinema Society, which is rather random. Not French, but love the movies. And I think she, again, in the movie, doesn't officially say she is, but it's very clear. If you have autism, I think it's very clear she does. All right, guys, we're almost there, and we're doing, because it's a smaller group, we're doing great for time. Oh, okay. 23 or 24. Raymond Ray Babbitt from 1980's Rayman was portrayed by what actor? Tom Cruise, Dustin Hoffman? Yes, a nice easy one. Now, I don't know if you guys knew this, but Tom Cruise was originally meant to be Rayman, but Dustin Hoffman really wanted that role. Like, as it came in and out of production, he was like, no, it's my role. And he worked like for many years to get this through. It was also Barry Levinson, who I don't actually know, I think he's a wrestler or something, was also up for the role. And Bill Murray was also pitched it. But
Barry Levinson directed the film.
yeah. Oh, yes, April, you are a genius. So yes, Bill Murray, yes, he's not a wrestler. Sorry, mine went blank. He is the director, but he is actually in the movie as an extra, so you can spot him. But the research they did on this film is really interesting. So they went and spoke with the person who Rayman is based on, got to know him, got to understand. They make a couple of liberties really, like of how they connect. But it's a really interesting story, and I think the guy is either still alive or only died recently. But it was the first time autism was portrayed in cinema in a positive light. Again, a little bit on the extreme side, but definitely a real landmark in terms of autism representation. Okay, last one. What type of movie is 2009's Australian comedy drama film Mary and Max? Is it puppet animation, computer animation, clay motion, or pixelation? Great, it is clay motion. Now, I can see why you would think computer animation, because it does look like it is. Now, it is a really kind of bleak, very depressing film, but beautifully made. And both characters have Asperger's and centered around the Aspire community. So,
Yes, Lonnie Max had Asperger's, and
yeah,
also Mary was just a lonely, like, young girl to begin with.
yeah. I mean, I think it's an interesting one on it, but it's nice to have a film that is purely based around it. You guys might not know this, but fun fact, the one that is pixelation is when you have actual human beings and you move them around to make them look like their animation.
Oh yes, that one I did some animation at university.
Yeah.
Mm.
All right, let's see the tallies. So the big fat autism quiz, third place. I'll say it's me. Woo, yay me. Okay, second place. What? Joe Malley, you have dethroned.
Well done, Joe.
Honestly, I'm impressed. You have dethroned April. I was like, we couldn't have her keep winning, otherwise it would look rather corrupt because she volunteers for us. Congratulations, today you have won pride.
So all that lurking about on the internet reading stuff's been worth it.
It has, yeah. So it's to be honest, it's really nice to see that you have been really actively trying to learn more about it. And I think it's an ongoing thing because, like I said, the truth is we do not know so much about it. And we've got to be so careful not to spread fake news, which I think the internet is big on. Like even on some of these, I always use very careful in my terminology, or at least try to, because we do not know. Now, just to have a quick look at the stats. So, The Good Doctor, I can guess none of us watched it. Well, Power Rangers, yeah. So the only one I think I recommend you guys research up on, just because it's fascinating, is about Hans himself. I think understanding more about how he came to diagnose autism and how it was originally seen, we often think that the way seeing autism as a positive is a relatively new phenomena, but it's not. Even back then, he saw the positives. It was really really fascinating. Okay, let's get off of this. Now, as guys, we finished rather early today for obvious reasons, but we've got more coming up. And Joe, I think one that I would recommend you attending is the one calling Am I Autistic? Now, just so you're aware, it's not about finding out if you're autistic, which the name kind of suggests. It's more about going through all the characteristics and how they apply to autism. So we did one on dyslexia recently, and I think a lot of people found it very interesting to know what are the characteristics behind the label that actually makes it up. I'm going to say...
Just as the question, but I looked at all of the events that are registered for the ones that most of them interested in tend to take partners that are either about neurodiversity in general or autism, because I say that autism is my neurodivergent niche.
Yeah. Well, if any of you guys ever want me to create ones on a particular theme or area, I'm always open for suggestions, and I'd love to keep growing this, because the more people we can get to attend, the more likely I'm able to carry on doing it. But I think it's a fun way to kind of learn more about a subject which a lot of us tell people on a daily basis we have, but might not necessarily really know that much about it, including myself. All right, guys, well, I'll leave it there, but have a lovely day. Thanks for attending. And once again, congratulations, Joe. In April, 2nd place. Wow.
A worthy opponent.
Yeah. All right,
Thanks
cool.
a lot, Nat.
See you guys.
Bye, Joe.
Bye.